What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of NFL Turf Talk. We are live here on DSM Media's Twitter channel, plus the DSM Media Turf Talk YouTube channel. So, guys, do yourself a favor, do us a favor. Make sure to check us out on Twitter at DSM_media. Smash that follow button, and then check out the link tree in our bio. It will take you to every social media platform we are available on. If you want to be interactive throughout today's show, like you see this comment pulled up, like you see our man D-Rab already in the comments, make sure to check out the YouTube channel specifically. Smash that subscribe button, like the video, share friends, family, other football fans, whoever you know that might like the content. I'm one half your host, Dylan Davis. To my right, my faithful co-host, Scotty. It is wild card weekend. We got two games to break down from yesterday. Kind of snore fest, Scotty. We'll talk about those lopsided affairs between the Chargers and the Texans and the Steelers and the Ravens to kick off today's show. And then we'll break down the rest of the other four games that we have available. 3 today, 1 tomorrow, between the Rams and the Vikings tomorrow night. Scotty and I were not live yesterday before the show, but we did give each other our 1 through 14 playoff power rankings. So we'll see. We'll be 100% transparent with you guys. We'll see where they were and what took place yesterday and how we're feeling about those throughout the show. But let's get into it, my man. Happy 2025, happy postseason, and speculation starts to get put to bed this weekend.
Yes, sir. What an exciting day, man. Just woke up juiced up this morning, couldn't go back to sleep. And here we are. This is going to get me through to the Bills game, and then from there we'll be good. But I'm just excited that it's finally here. I think we get to take the kid gloves off as Eagles fans here, and we get to have some fun this postseason. But exciting matchups across the board, I would say. Hopefully better today than what we had yesterday. Although you looked at them ahead of time, they looked like close matchups going in, right? The Texans and the Chargers and the Ravens and the Steelers. The spread was 9.5. I thought that was kind of crazy, but yeah, they ended up covering anyways. So I guess it wasn't that crazy, especially the way the Ravens controlled the game. But
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see how today plays out. You got another kind of wide spread between the Bills and the Broncos. The Eagles spread has kind of kept moving. It started 2.5 early on in the week, 3.5, 4.5, now 5.5. Then tonight, I believe it was -3 for Tampa Bay. I believe they're 3-point favorites tonight against the Commanders. And then you got tomorrow night. I want to say the Rams are 2.5 underdogs.
Yeah.
Underdogs.
And that game got moved, obviously, because of the fires out in LA. So I believe is it in our – it's in Arizona. It's in Arizona now, right? Because I think at first they tried to move it just like south in California, and then I could be wrong, but then I think that was still too much, and then they were like, no, let's just get it away safely, I guess. But
so that's not even a home game for the Rams.
No, and I'm not sure how much of a home game it was going to be at SoFi anyway. But it would have been more. It would have been more than what you're going to get now. So it definitely benefits the Vikings. Not to talk about that conversation as a benefit to anybody, but when you're talking about home field advantage, it's a benefit to the Minnesota Vikings in that regard, man. But I guess let's kind of pan back to what we sent each other with these power rankings and start off with this first game that took place yesterday. And I bring up the power rankings because the team that lost, the team that's off season has started now, was a team you and I had basically right in the middle of the pack. You had the Chargers at 7 out of 14. I had them at 8 out of 14. I don't know that that's the interesting topic. Now it is, but the team that absolutely dominated, specifically in the second half, the Houston Texans, you and I had at 13 and 14 in our power rankings. We were uninspired by CJ Stroud all year long. We were uninspired by this offense all year long. Obviously, the defense played a major role in this game. But the Houston Texans put up a hell of a performance. After losing the first quarter 6-0, the defense held pat. I believe the Chargers had the ball like 2 out of their first 3 possessions in Texans territory. They only come away with 2 field goals. You couldn't have been feeling good at that point if you were Jim Harbaugh. No. And then they kind of turned things around. But we have to start on the other side, right? Because we came into this one talking about 2 quarterbacks that have something to prove in this game. CJ Stroud, obviously a little bit younger, only his second year, had the crazy rookie year, won a playoff game, etc., but was very uninspiring this year. Like I said, he had something to prove because he kind of got anointed early on after his first season, and he was not good this year. But then you had the other guy who only had 3 interceptions on the season, Scotty.
It's unbelievable.
3 on the season. And Justin
Unbelievable.
Herbert throws 4 picks on the road. 1 goes back to the house for 6. 14 of 32 on the day. Only 1 touchdown, and it was a garbage time, like 80-yarder to Ladd McConkey up the middle of the field. Justin Herbert was a fucking train wreck yesterday. Excuse my language.
No.
That's where we start the conversation, right?
Yeah, it's where we have to start the conversation. One, because you mentioned it. We both had them at least in our top 10, in our top 8 in the power rankings yesterday. And the defense did show up at first, honestly. They were there. They even answered the call when the Chargers turned the ball very early on and kept it a close game.
First play of the Texans from scrimmage. They punched it out off of John Mechie.
Yeah. Made a couple different plays, interceptions, different things. The Texans obviously got off to a slow start. They kind of looked like the team they had been all regular season to start the game. They kind of get it going at the end of the second quarter, going into the second half. Joe Mixon comes out, fumbles early on in the second half, gives them another opportunity for the Chargers to get in it. And man, what a meltdown from Justin Herbert. And he just created so much discourse this offseason about himself, just the way the storylines will match up. 4 interceptions, 1 more than what he had the entire season, which makes his regular seasons
even
no
worse.
longer mean anything.
Right.
Ryan Clark said it best on X, man. I saw his tweet about it. It doesn't matter what he does in the regular season next year.
Not at all.
It doesn't matter at all. He has to do it in the postseason. Otherwise, he is a fraud. Because that was one of the bigger meltdowns that I quite honestly have ever seen.
It was bad, bro.
It was
very
bad.
bad.
Second half, it got really out of hand.
You're talking about the quarterback that was on the wrong end of, I believe, the biggest postseason comeback in NFL history a few years ago when Trevor Lawrence and the Jags came all the way back down. What were they down? 27-0 or 26-0 in that game to Justin Herbert and the Chargers?
Yeah.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
And Lawrence and them come all the way back. Like, you're on the wrong side of that. You already have all these questions surrounding you. What can you be like in the postseason? And man, it'd be one thing if the Chargers defense didn't show up today and, the Texans beat them 32-27 and Herbert was all right, whatever. You were the one thing everyone can point to.
Yeah.
Turn the football over 4 times. And I'm going to be honest, you bring up like the regular season, only having 3 picks makes it worse. Like, I'd rather it would be less of a story. It would be less of a story if he threw 9 interceptions in the regular season, 10 interceptions in the regular season. It would be less. The fact that you were so clean and so good in the regular season when the pressure wasn't as big, and then those bright lights on the road, and you just can't do it, man. And to D-Rab's point, I was 32. What was CJ Stroud doing early in this game? I mean, just some of the throws, the intercept, he was not good. And then Herbert gift wraps one across the field, along the boundary. And I believe that was the drive that started the Texans to go down and get points in the first place. It might have been one more drive after that. I could be wrong. But it was right around that time that they had a chance to go up 13-0 on this Texans team.
Yeah.
And Herbert throws one across the field and it gets picked off. And it's like that never changed,
I think
man.
Somehow on that drive, I want to say they went 99 yards. At least that's what the announcers said on the first score for the Texans.
Yeah. So I think it was the drive after they got pinned, like from a punt, like down.
Okay. And I remember the fumbled snap. CJ Stroud picks it up. He makes that throw downfield, and that kind of spirals into momentum for the Texans. And that's kind of what this game started out as, was like, which quarterback, which offense is going to give the other offense a bigger opportunity by turning the ball over? And it ultimately ended up the Chargers just giving up opportunity after opportunity. You threw basically 2 pick sixes in this game. If you're Justin Herbert, along with the 4 interceptions, he was 14 for 32. They weren't able to run the football. I do want to ask you, how much credit do we give to the Texans defense? Because they did impress me. They had pressure all over the place. They covered well. The Chargers don't have anyone outside of Ladd McConkey. Ladd McConkey is nice though.
Yeah.
I don't know, like wide receiver 1 for them. Like going forward, he's like slot magicians in the middle of the field, but monster. They couldn't stop him, but they shut down basically the rest of that offense.
Yep. Yeah, and that's the issue when you like this Chargers team and this offense was one that we talked about having lack of weapons. And yeah, Herbert did more with it this year. And you are right. McConkey looks like a stud. But man, when you're lacking around him, it's easy to just say, okay, this guy can get his. No one else is going to do any harm to us today.
Yeah.
And yeah, McConkey went for basically 200 and a monster touchdown. Guess what? It meant this much to that football game.
It mattered, which is crazy.
The Texas defense, I think to your point, man, they made the Chargers one-dimensional. And the reason I bring that up is they only ran the ball 16 times to their running backs. J.K. Dobbins was in the running for comeback player of the year with how good he was and their rushing attack could be this year. They averaged, I believe, like 110, 115 on the ground on per game. He got 9 carries, 2.9 yards per carry. Now that's a positive for the Texans defense, but it also caused Harbaugh and the Chargers to get out of what they want to do. And I only say that because, man, you had a 6-0 lead through a quarter of this game. It was 10-6 at halftime. So at no point really until later on in the third quarter or early fourth quarter should you have been one-dimensional. Should you have been, air attack, because we have to go. I don't know why they got so far away from it. Like I get it. Like you weren't running the ball well, but you can't just abandon it in that fashion. So that was something else that caught my eye. Like, man, 9 carries to J.K. Dobbins, 7 to Gus Edwards. That's it. Like that's bad.
And that's something they're gonna have to, go into the offseason wondering is like how much of Justin Herbert's meltdown was Harbaugh and that offensive coordinator and their offensive play calling. How much did that play in Justin Herbert's meltdown? But to say the least, man, Herbert was embarrassing. Quite honestly, it was embarrassing.
Very embarrassing. But
telling my wife, I was like, I hope he has like a loving wife at home or something that he can go home and get coddled because it's gonna be a long ass off season, dude. He's gonna have a long ass off season.
Man.
Thoughts on CJ Stroud? Like, where are we at with him moving forward?
I mean, I think what CJ Stroud and Justin Herbert did were just two tales of different stories. Like Herbert had the great regular season, choked.
Yeah.
Stroud, anointed early in his career, struggled all year, struggled to start this game. Was very good. I mean, 22 of 23, 282. Yeah, he had the early interception, which was disgusting. They were able to run the ball a bit. Joe Mixon averaged, a little over 4 yards per carry. They were very balanced. I think CJ Stroud did what CJ Stroud had to do to win a playoff football game. I think D'Amico Ryan's defense, I think the Texans just put together a very, very good performance to win a football game. I'll throw the Stroud thing back to you. But the one thing I just wanted to point out in both of these games, if you win the turnover battle, and if you can run the ball and stop the run, you can win games in January. And that's exactly what the Chargers did. And obviously we'll talk about the Ravens and what they were able to do on the ground in a little bit. But that's what happened yesterday. I mean, the Houston Texans stopped the run. They ran for $168, and they won the turnover battle. And their defense scored. That's how you win football games in January.
Yeah. Nico Collins, very good as well, man. Just a monster playmaker. But, yeah, the defense was impressive. CJ was impressive in the big spots, man, especially to end the half. Those were huge to get those 10 points, get the lead going into the half. And then, obviously, the defense helped out a lot, but they were able to finish off drives. The Chargers defense helped them out a bit, and they weren't able to finish it. So that was, to your point, kind of the opposite situations for these two quarterbacks and these two offenses. But looking into next week, Texans, unless the Broncos get an upset today, will go
Yeah,
on to play the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas
yeah.
City. So
That'll put a wrap on CJ Stroud's season, but it's okay.
that's a is that solid for CJ? One and done in each postseason to start his career,
I mean,
or
it's tough because you're walking into an absolute what should be a
who did they
buzzsaw
lose to last
against
year?
the best in
Baltimore.
the I think so. Yeah. Who were the 1 seed and went to the AFC Championship. So
Like you got to win at some point, but that's
you
not
do,
a
you do, but
horrible
it's
start.
not now for CJ
Yeah,
Stroud. I would say for sure. It's just the Herbert side of things is like it's not that you have to win at some point. Herbert's still very, very young. It's you
yeah,
can't look like you do in the postseason.
yeah,
That's the
yeah. No,
problem.
I agree. I agree. I don't know what they do. I guess you go out, you try to maybe draft early in the draft to get a wide receiver, or maybe go out and spend big for a wide receiver.
Yeah,
But
you're gonna
at
have
the end
to.
of the day, you have to make throws in the big moments. You have to not turn the ball over. You have
Yeah,
to be confident, man. And he looked scared in the second half. There was like
yeah,
something that flipped even further, and it went even further downhill. But let's go to the other game, man. The Steelers and the
yeah,
Ravens. Because
yeah.
I'm interested in your thoughts here on this offense. Because man, I came out of it like, man, no way I would sign, Russ Wilson or Justin Fields back to this team. By the numbers, I mean, Russ didn't have that bad a game. Like 20 for 29.
No,
What, 270, two tutties? I know a lot of it was kind of garbage
yeah.
in a sense. But where did the Steelers go after this, man? Because this was a complete meltdown the second half of the season.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you go back to that Steelers-Eagles matchup, which was the game of the week. It was, I think the Steelers at the same time were only a 2 or 3 loss team. And the Eagles are the team that started what what ends up being what, a 5-game losing streak to end the season.
Yeah.
Um, again, you go back and I guess for some reason I let this Steelers team skate by my resume outlook. I don't know why, but really, if you do go back, man, outside of beating the Ravens by kicking 6 field goals in that one game, um, they beat nobody this year. Uh, they beat the Broncos and Chargers at the beginning of the year. Um, they beat the Raiders, the Jets, the Giants, the Bengals, the Browns, the Commanders by 1. They lost to the Colts and Cowboys. I mean, their resume was not impressive. And at some point in time when Russ took over, we thought this was a dangerous football team. This
Yeah.
defense was nowhere near as dominant
No,
and
no,
trustworthy
not
as
at
they've
all.
been in the past. This I think Kirk Herbstreit absolutely nailed what he was saying in the first half of this football game about the Steelers. Where's the fight? Like,
Yeah.
they just got punched in the mouth, went down 14-0, and they looked like a sad little puppy sitting in the corner.
Yeah.
That's a
It didn't
Mike
look like
Tomlin-led
Pittsburgh.
football team.
Yeah.
I don't know
You
where they
know?
go from here because to your point, man, the identity of the Steelers has always been for the last 2 or 3 years, they just need a
Defense.
quarterback. To your point,
Yeah.
what exactly was wrong with Russell Wilson's day yesterday? Now, they didn't start fast. I think an issue with the Steelers as well is they don't finish in the red zone. They didn't do it much in the regular season as well. But
Yeah.
like you said, 20 of 29, 270, no turnovers, 2 touchdowns. And it was a little bit garbage time in, but he threw like 2 40-yarders to keep this a game within the third and early fourth quarter. So it wasn't
Yeah.
like late fourth quarter down 28-0. He just started slinging it. It was to make it 21-7,
Yeah.
28-14 in the third quarter. So
And
yeah, it's that. I mean, they couldn't run the ball worth shit. I could tell you that. But
to your point, I mean, when Russ makes those plays, to who is it, Calvin Austin down the
yeah,
field,
yep,
I
and
believe it was
Pickens.
2 big throws to him, got him in the end zone. Steelers defense gives up a big run, big touchdown from Derrick Henry
Yeah,
to
they were
basically
soft
open
yesterday.
it wide back open.
Absolutely soft yesterday.
And then Russ comes down, scores again, gets George Pickens down the
Yep.
field. So it was interesting to watch it play out. Mike Tomlin, he's entering dangerous territory where when it comes to like job security, I believe.
Yeah, man.
Just because, like, when's the last time that they have had an offense that looks good? Like Antonio
Yeah.
Brown days? Like, when is the last time
Le'Veon
that
Bell
the
and
offense
Antonio
looked good?
Brown, and yeah.
Like, Ben Roethlisberger's gone, and it feels like one of these moments. But they're 10-7, right? Like, they didn't have the ultimate meltdown, but
No.
it just feels like they're one of these middling teams that, where are you going to get better? Because you're not going to get an brilliant offensive mind to come in and be offensive coordinator. They're going to have to be head coach. If you want to Ben Johnson, if you want to, the guy, I can't remember his name from Houston right now off the top of my head. The offensive coordinator. He was renowned last season, but he didn't have such a great season this year. I can't remember his name though, man.
Forget. I was going to say Canales, but no, Canales is the head coach. It was the head coach in Carolina. He moved on from somewhere.
Yeah, no, I can't remember who it is, but nonetheless, Ben Johnson, you want to get one of those type of guys to come in. Even a Kellen Moore. Like, Kellen Moore's not leaving the Eagles to go be an offensive coordinator elsewhere.
Yeah.
He's leaving to go be a head coach. So if you want to go out and grab a head coach, I think they need to change not the identity like the whole way, like not like leave that like defensive mindset. Like, I think they still need to keep that intact, obviously. But you got to change something with the offense, man. They're just not an exciting team.
No, they're
Seems
not.
like no matter what
and
they
I'll tell
add
you,
to it.
they're undisciplined on the corners as well. I'll be honest. If you took a look at the 14 playoff teams we have this year, I can probably make an argument that the Pittsburgh Steelers are in the worst position moving forward, or close, like 12th, 13th, 14th, in that range. Because again, is it the quarterback and Russell Wilson? Even though he was good, pretty good or serviceable, at least enough, whatever. Another year older after this season. Are you going to run that back? Justin Fields, to what D-Rab's talking about, do you trust him enough? Clearly not, right? And I don't think anybody has really trusted him enough since he's entered the league. You talk about their rushing attack. The Najee Harris, Jaylen Warren thing just isn't getting it done, man, especially in big moments. Like, neither guy could run the ball yesterday, right? They ran for 29 total yards on 11 carries as a team yesterday, which I don't know that you could just try to run the ball 11 times, but you got down 14-0 early. It's a problem, whatever.
Yeah.
You can't run the football. The quarterback's getting older. You don't know what to do there. Your star is an absolute knucklehead. I mean, who gets flagged for a push off. He probably didn't have to push off on that. Negated a big play yesterday. And then the comments after the game, like, it's just always something with what the star is, right? You have no second option after him. You go on the defensive side of the ball. Like, that's the piece. That's supposed to be the masterpiece.
TJ Watt, invisible
in this game. The defense looks soft. The fucking Ravens ran for 300 yards, and Derrick Henry made you look like little boys.
Yeah, I would go back and watch some clips of the Eagles defense against the Baltimore Ravens offense to get my mind right, because the way it looked crazy.
It looked unstoppable.
Crazy the way Derrick Henry was running the football.
You got Joey Porter Jr., who I know is still young. This dude gets called for 19 defensive holdings a game. They're undisciplined. They look soft. They look like they gave to end that season that they just had on a 5-game losing streak, because when things went and got tough and you had to play the Ravens and the Eagles and the Chiefs and hell, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, you couldn't find a way to win a single fucking game. It was soft, and the Steelers team is not in a good position moving forward.
Yeah, and I think when you start to compare them even against their division, you look at the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, they dog them in this game, but going forward, like, Lamar's not going anywhere. Like, he's entering his prime right now. Derrick Henry's going to be there the next year.
Mind you, they did this without their number one wide receiver to you.
Yeah, Zay Flowers.
Without Zay Flowers to you.
You got Mark Andrews. Isaiah Likely looked great last night. Is the second tight end on the team. Rashad Bateman has came around this year. So where are you matching up? How are you keeping up with the Baltimore Ravens? It's not by improve. Like, you got to improve your defense. You got to get better defensively, of course. But the offense, you're going to have to keep up. You're going to have to score points. Mm-hmm. And that's got to be a big notion for the Steelers going forward. Because if you're like, that's my thing. If I was a Steelers fan, man, they would be so boring to watch. Just like deep shot from Russ. or runs get stuffed. Like it would just be so
They
annoying to
are,
watch.
man.
They,
They are,
they are just
and I bet them
incompetent
plus
offensively.
9.5. And I'm being serious, Scotty. When they went down 7-0, they came back out on the field on offense.
Yeah,
I had about 4% enthusiasm in my body that they were going to be able to sustain drives and put up points.
Yeah.
They're boring. They're
you.
boring. They're inefficient. Like it looks bad when I mean, if you want to just get a screenshot of what yesterday in the Steelers offense is, Pat Freiermuth on the first play of the game drops an 8-yard curl right in his hands with no one
Set the
around.
tone.
That just told you everything you need to know about how last night was supposed to go. See the issue, man, with them, like there's just different issues and different holes, right? Like the Eagles had a meltdown, but we still had our quarterback in place, locked up under contract. Yeah. They don't. Their defense is supposed to be complete. You didn't look at our defense last year player-wise and go, yeah, this is supposed to be the core. You knew there were lots of holes. Like my question is, like, if you're them, I don't know what holes you're like. Where are you supposed to fix defensively? You go around the board. What's the issue? I don't know. It's not TJ
They've already replaced
Highsmith. It's not Hayward.
They've already replaced their offensive coordinator.
Right.
They've tried that, right? They brought the guy in from the Atlanta Falcons. And it didn't work. That's the point, man. And that's what's scary for Pittsburgh moving forward, because you got Najee Harris going out. You do need more wide receivers. Pat Freiermuth, George Pickens, they're obviously solid going forward. But what else? Where else are you going? Who's your quarterback? That's going to be obviously the biggest thing. But I think there's going to be coaching shifts all throughout that organization. We're going to see some shifts, whether it's Tomlin going or not. I maybe not, but I've seen crazier, man. I've seen crazier. It feels like Tomlin is entering this Andy Reid Eagles time. Like it feels like he's entering that type of scenario right now.
You're 1,000% right. Think about where we were with Mike Tomlin and the Steelers before this year. He hasn't had a losing season since whenever, wherever, or whatever it was. Congratulations. So
great.
8-7, 9-8 over the last couple of years.
People calling him Doc Rivers.
Like they kept they'd missed the playoffs. Excuse me. But their head coach went 8-7 a couple years ago. They didn't make the playoffs, but they were 9-8 last year. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
They have not been good since Ben Roethlisberger left.
Of the NFL.
And Ben Roethlisberger's last year or two were despicable. So the Pittsburgh Steelers have not been good, relevant, explosive, talented on offense in fucking 6 years. So we'll see. Before we move on to the rest of the slate, man, we spent a lot of time talking about the Steelers team. A team did kick the shit out of them yesterday. It's a team that went to the AFC Championship last year, hosted the AFC Championship last year. Another quarterback that has playoff question marks surrounding him. Didn't have to do too much through the air, although he's very efficient, very talented. 16 of 21, 175, 2 tutties. The throw to the back of the end zone to Bateman to start the game was gross. Protected the football. And then you get to the ground, man. They ran the ball 50 times for 299 yards. Again, against a division rival who knows you well, who beat you once this year, slowed this rushing attack down once this year, and is supposed to be a dominant front. They couldn't stop anything Lamar Jackson or Derrick Henry threw their way yesterday, man. Stop the run and run the football.
I saw the first drive from Baltimore. You just saw how it was going, and it just felt like how is Pittsburgh going to stop this unit? Like if the Baltimore Ravens really keep this rushing attack going, the way Lamar started the game, when he starts aggressive like that, keeping the ball down, and running it himself, it just puts the defense on edge immediately the rest of the game. And I think that's something we could see differently, like him being a little bit more aggressive in that fashion. In the postseason now, where we're playing serious ball, you want to take less risk throwing the ball through the air if you don't have to. And that's exactly what the Ravens did last night. They ran it until they couldn't anymore, and then they would throw when they had to on third downs. Anything third and short, they're going for it. They're doing the tush push with Mark Andrews, actually. So the Ravens were absolutely moving. yesterday. And they kind of, they did fulfill what we expected going into the Saturday of wild card football. They were the team that we looked at and said, this is a Super Bowl contender going in to these two games yesterday. So I did like what we saw from the Ravens. I think they have even more that they can unleash as the playoffs go on. And so we'll see how it goes, man. Depends on this Buffalo game once again. They could end up playing Buffalo.
Seeing how Josh Houston and the Bills look today is going to be big, man. It's going to be big because that's kind of where I was going to pivot and ask you, like, what the Ravens did yesterday, how explosive Derek and Lamar look together. Does that change your outlook or view of the AFC, right? Does that propel them to right at the top of the conversation with the Chiefs? Do they surpass the Bills? They already kicked the shit out of the Bills once this year. So we'll see. But I guess it's a good segue to start to look at today's slate because that Bills team is up first. They're at home. Bills Mafia is going to be going wild. It's a rookie quarterback coming to town. Turn the ball, 12 interceptions through the air this year for Bo Nix. You would think this Buffalo team should have a field day against the rookie, and they should be able to do what they want. But that defense is very good. 7.5 point spread. What are your thoughts on this ball game?
It's an interesting matchup, man. I do think. Let me put it this way. Let me tell you my week when I'm thinking about this game. When very early on when I saw the matchup, my mind instantly thought maybe an upset potential here, man. Just when you look at the matchup, like, can the Denver Broncos defense keep them in it? And I'm just not so confident in the Buffalo defense. Moving forward, just some of the performances we saw against the better competition outside of that game against Kansas City, where it kind of shifted everybody's thoughts on Buffalo by them beating Kansas City. Which fair enough. It's hard to beat Kansas City. It is an accomplishment. But looking at this Buffalo team, man, what if Bo Nix can make some plays? What happens then? I don't know. As the week grew on, I started to shift back. I'm like, I'm getting ahead of myself. Josh Allen should be able to come out today, make enough plays, make more plays than Bo Nix, and the Buffalo Bills should win this game at home. They should take care of business. But there is just a little part of me that is like, man, it's not like 99% Buffalo to win this. Like it's more maybe 70-30, maybe 70-30, 65-35.
I think it's a great comment from Hunter here, man. You talk about that Bills team getting a change of perception once they were able to finally beat Mahomes and the Chiefs, right? The Chiefs had to block a field goal as time was out to beat Bo Nix and the Broncos earlier this year.
Yeah.
Bo Nix can hang around. If I had to pick a game, I said this to you before the show started. It feels like not the 4-5 matchups. They're too close. It's not really upset alert, right?
Outside of those,
all of the 3-6, 2-7s, everything. It feels like the Eagles are being talked about nationally as like the team that's put on upset alert, right? I've seen former players talk about it. I've seen analysts talk about it, etc. This is the game for me. This is the game for me that has the biggest potential upset alert, whatever you want to call it today. And I'll tell you, all I got to say is it better not happen if you're Josh Allen. And I know it's a regular season award. There's no way this man can be given the MVP if he loses today. There's no fucking way. I know it's not about the postseason.
I agree.
There's no, it can't happen, man. And I think votes are already casted. I could be wrong. So, like,
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so it doesn't, but it's just like, man, we might have to do a recount or something because there's no way they can allow this to happen today. But that defense, man, is suspect, and that Broncos defense has been legit all fucking year long, and Josh has been dominant, and Josh has been Superman, and he's used his legs more, and he's been cleaner than he has in the past. But what if that little voice in the back of his head, that little turnover problem, comes out for just a play or two today? Where he's trying to do too much. He's trying to extend the play, and he holds on to the ball for too long, or he throws
It
across the
could.
field across his body, this is the game that has the biggest potential for an upset on the slate. Am I confident it happens? No, I'm not confident it happens. Broncos plus 7.5, I think might have to be the early play for me.
Yeah. I do hear you, man. I don't know. I like I said, as the week went on, I kind of gravitated back to the form Josh Allen has played at this year. But
Yep.
to your point,
And that's
I
fair.
do agree. I do agree
fair.
that out of all the games outside of the 4-5s, this one does. There's just a feel to it too.
I'll say
There's
this.
just a weird feel to it.
Obviously, much different levels, right? When you're talking about team overall plus the quarterbacks, right? But we said the same. Justin Herbert had a hell of a regular season.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert had a little bit of a turnover issue in the postseason yesterday.
Yeah.
Obviously, we look at Justin, right? Like it's not that close, right? But I'm just saying, you never know. You never know. Is it bad? Can I ask you this? Is it wrong that I want to see it? Like, I don't think it's good for this. I don't think it's good for the rest of the postseason. Like, you know how like March Madness, everyone loves an upset. They love a Cinderella story, and it's cute. It's cool in the first round or two, but then you get to the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8, or God forbid the Final Four, like a few years ago, and there's an 11 seed that just doesn't belong, and then your Final Four matchup is a 30-point rout, right? Like, that's not good for the tournament as a whole. Wouldn't you much rather see the Bills play the Chiefs or the Bills play the Ravens or something like that than the Broncos? But today, it's like, I kind of want to see it.
Yeah, and it when you start to think about it, like if the Broncos could, I mean, then they're going to Kansas City, a division rival. I don't think they would beat Kansas City. I'm not saying that, but it's just it is a storyline. But I'd rather see Josh Allen.
I do think we have to make something very clear, though, because this Broncos team is the 7. This is the 2-7 matchup, right?
Yeah.
A 7 seed has not won since the new format's been implemented.
Yeah.
And in fact, I don't think any of the games have been close since the new format's been implemented. So it's just something to keep to keep a look.
I don't know if I would lay the plus 7.5 either. I don't know if I would do that either, because like, what if Josh Allen just comes out and has a game?
Nuclear.
Like, it could happen.
Yeah. And to that point, running wild in the secondary.
To that point, though, I do have some Allen props that are in my best bets today, man. I like his rushing touchdown, and I like him over 1.5 passing touchdowns, 2 passing touchdowns today as well, man.
You're really telling me Bo Nix.
If it takes that, though, what does that say? Do you know what I mean? Like, if you get both of those to happen, right, that means he's balling out. But what is Bo Nix doing on the other side, man?
Correct.
So it'll be interesting.
I did want to throw this out there. I shared this with you before. Before we went live, this little note got thrown on X. Dawson Knox has scored the opening touchdown for the Buffalo Bills in 4 consecutive postseasons or postseason games.
Do they run with that narrative?
Even if you don't want to go first tutty, which I believe is like plus 2,200, he's like plus 600, plus 650 to score today. I might have to sprinkle it.
Yeah. Maybe throw a 10 bean on it.
Yeah. Like just something.
Get a builder. Get a builder.
Yeah.
A builder in.
Birds. Builder for the bird.
No, I might tail you on that, man. That's a good stat. You know how teams are with narrative.
Playoff games, he has scored the opening game touchdown for the Buffalo Bills. So just to get in at some point today, Josh knows him. Josh relies on him in big moments. Stingy defense against the Broncos. Maybe they're zeroing in on Dalton Kincaid. Dawson Knox gets hit with a little 18-yarder in the red zone.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Like it, man. We'll
see. All right, we're going to skip past the Eagles and Packers game. Obviously, we're about to break that down on the pregame live show in a little bit here for you guys. So 2 more to get into, tonight's game and then tomorrow night's game. Commanders Bucks, man, 4-5 in the NFC. Speaking of dominant regular season performances, Baker Mayfield threw 4,500 yards and 41 passing touchdowns this year. Ran in a few. Now he threw 16 interceptions. He was far from clean and protective this year.
Perfect,
but he's
right.
explosive. Mike Evans. Is Mike Evans a top 10 wide receiver all time? I'm not even talking right now. All time, Mike Evans might have to be top 10. He is so ridiculous.
Consistent.
How are we feeling about this one, man? It's Tampa -3. Should that be? I mean, I know as the home team, especially in the postseason, it probably means it's more of a closer, like even line at that point. But still, Tampa Bay -3 against the guy, against Jaden. What could go wrong?
The guy. It is such an interesting matchup. It's such an interesting matchup here today. And to your point about the line, yes, Tampa Bay -3 sort of leans to more of an even line with them being the home team. And I think it does just play to kind of how the season played out for both of these teams. You had Washington finish really strong. They ended up with 12 wins. You had Tampa Bay kind of finished strong. Like I guess they had some close ones with their division down the stretch, but nothing too crazy. They were able to secure their division. My big question, the big thing around the league with Tampa Bay and Philadelphia is, Todd Bowles versus Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
Can Todd Bowles show us something against Jaden Daniels? And if you look back, they did play week 1, man. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat the Commanders 37-20. In that game, Jaden Daniels was 17 for 24, 184 yards, 16 carries, 88 yards, 2 tutties on the ground. So he didn't necessarily turn the ball over or anything like that. But Baker went off in this game. 289 yards passing, 4 touchdowns through the air. Mike Evans, 5 receptions, 2 touchdowns through the air. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had their way with that defense. And that's kind of what I look forward to tonight. I think Tampa Bay is going to be able to do what they want to out there. I think they are going to score some points on this defense. I think they could get above 30 plus in this game. And I do think it could turn into one of those situations of, can rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels keep up with that Tampa Bay offense? And can he make the right decisions to keep them in the game as well? What does Todd Bowles throw at him? What does it look like? Do they force him to go completely through the air? Do you just pack everything in and shut down the ground game, take his option away there? It'll be interesting to see how Todd Bowles plays it. But I do like Tampa at home. I just think in Tampa Bay, it's going to be a little too much for this young quarterback to kind of get over. I think 1 turnover, 2 turnovers, that could maybe be the difference in this one.
I agree, man. And I think it's poetic because I knew that Tampa Bay beat them and I couldn't really remember, but it's been a theme of mine talking about this Eagles-Packers game this week, how poetic it will be for the Packers season to start and end at the hands of the Philadelphia Eagles. And the Eagles beat the Packers all the way back in week 1. And I was going to sit here and go, man, that's Jaden Daniels' first game. And that's true. There's context to it, right? The first game as a quarterback in the NFL, things changed throughout the year. And he's been really good this year. But then I was like, but I still count the Eagles win as impressive against the Packers. So I have to count the Tampa Bay win as impressive against the Commanders. Yeah. And if we're being honest, this game wasn't 24-21. This game wasn't 28-27. This game was 37-20. This was an offense that could not be stopped. Jaden Daniels didn't have much success through the air, and things changed. I get it. I'm on the Bucs today. First of all, we get another round of Marshawn Lattimore versus Mike Evans.
Yeah, that is a difference, though.
Let's see what fireworks we could set off tonight, okay? I just think Baker's going to have a very, very good game. It's in Tampa Bay. I think the Bucs will be one and done. I think they win tonight, and then they'll go on the road versus whoever, Detroit, whatever it is, and they'll end up, being sent home, right? But I think they win tonight, and I do agree with you. I think their offense goes for, if not like 28, maybe like 31, 34 points tonight. And that's going to be too much for the rookie to go on the road and try to do, man. And again, it comes down to resumes for me. And this isn't college football. I get that. and it's any given Sunday, all right, whatever. The Washington Commanders, a theme has been they haven't beaten anybody. They beat us, right? And if I'm going to count that win with Kenny Pickett playing quarterback, well, guess what? I'm going to count the Bucs ass whipping against us with no AJ and Smitty and Lane, et cetera, right? So they beat us, right? Just like Washington did. And they beat Washington head-to-head. And they beat Detroit the following week. They've beaten Super Bowl contending teams. Washington's resume is what it is. I don't think the rookie's going into those cannons and coming away with the win tonight.
They've been running the football too, Tampa Bay. So that's been kind of something else that's opened up in their offense. You lose Chris Godwin throughout the season. The thing is, man, they were playing at a time without Mike Evans or Chris Godwin, and they were still able to win at least a few games to keep their season alive mixed in there. So they've found ways to get other receivers involved down there in Tampa Bay as well. So it'll be an interesting matchup. I am interested to see what Todd Bowles does against Jaden Daniels because he is dynamic, but I think, to your point, just a little too much from Tampa Bay in that one, man. But you look at tomorrow's matchup, that kind of plays into what you talked about, who's going to play Detroit. The 4 and 5. The Rams and the Minnesota Vikings, man. The Vikings did not finish the season well. Obviously they're in Detroit. They had a great season overall, but the last game of the season was a little worrisome, I would say.
A little? Yeah.
Yeah. Where are you at going into this one, man? How are you feeling?
I go back to that, what was that, the middle of the season game at LA, where the Rams came away with a win, man. And obviously it ended in crazy fashion. You had the face mask in the end zone that doesn't get called, and things went a little weird in that game. But the Rams come away with a 10-point win at home against the Vikings. And that's one of the Vikings' 3 losses, okay? They knew them well. They played them well. And if I remember correctly, let me just click on this game. I'm pretty sure Matthew Stafford had a night. In fact, he had a very big night. 279, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick for Matthew Stafford.
Is that a Puka game?
Let's see. Puka 7 for 106, Kupp for 5 for 51. Kyron also had 23 carries for 97 yards. Sean McVay had a field day against Brian Flores in this defense.
Yeah.
It's not at home. It's not in SoFi, but it's also not in Minnesota. It's not in that dome with the skull chants and everything like that.
Whoa. That was wild. That hasn't happened in quite a while.
No. You're good.
Marcia.
You're
no,
good.
We're not nervous. We're actually in a very good mood up until that
we didn't
Dylan disappeared off the screen there. But are we back in?
We're back. I clicked the wrong button, but I didn't. It was nothing with connection. Oh, now you can't see me? Oh, God.
Of course. I can't see Dylan on my end now. What is going on? Oh my goodness. Wild card weekend. I guess this is
all right. I'm here.
I'm here.
He can't see me. Scotty.
So you can see Dylan. So maybe let me leave real quick. Hold on.
God damn it, boys. Fucked up. Let's put Scotty right there for now. All right. What Dill did is Dill was on ESPN.com, tried to hit the back button, accidentally hit the back button on StreamYard, just removed myself from the stream. Evidently, when I did that, now I just fucked up Scotty's whole system. So hopefully we can get on the same page here. But we were on the final game. I know we got to get out of here soon anyway to talk about this Eagles-Packers game over on the pregame show. So hopefully he get back in here in a minute. But what's up, Will? But this Vikings-Rams game, man, This is probably like if I had to rank in terms of confidence or where I would put my money, where I would put my money for upsets or on underdogs this week, it would have to. This would probably rank second or third, right? I had Texas +3. I didn't want to lay their money line yesterday, but obviously they went out and won outright. We talked about that Bills Denver game as a 7.5 point spread. This is the next one. Martians all over the Rams. I don't hate it, man. I believe they're 2.5 point dogs against the Vikings tomorrow night. To me, I think you're gonna know. It's gonna sound a little dumb. I feel like you're gonna know within the first quarter how this game might play out, because if McVay's offense looks like it did back in the middle of the season against this Vikings defense, right? If Kyron Williams busting 6-7 yard carries, if Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp are doing what they want in the middle of the field, and the Rams go down and get 7 quick, or they get up 10-3 or 10-0, I think you're going to know that this might be the same movie we watched before. Now, if Brian Flores' defense comes out and adjusts, if they turn Matthew Stafford over early, if they get to Stafford early and they're putting him on the ground, then I think the Vikings may have learned their lesson. And if that's the case, the Rams are going to be in for a long day, a long night. Like if you come out and this Minnesota front is getting after Stafford, it might be a double-digit point of type of win for the Vikings. But if McVay's offense, if Stafford can come out and be electric early, it's going to be a long night for Brian Flores. And then things are going to get interesting because McVay's been here. McVay and Stafford had the Super Bowl together just a few short years ago. He was in another Super Bowl with Sean McVay knows what these type of moments are like. He knows what it's like to be an underdog. He knows what it's like to go on the road, even though this isn't technically a road game for them. So I'm interested to see if that offense tomorrow night can come out quick and firing. If they get up and put points early on this Vikings defense, do the Vikings have an answer for that riddle? I don't think they will. This would be the second game I would put on upset alert for tomorrow night, for sure. As an Eagles fan, Martian, before we get out of here, Martian, D-Rab, Will, let me ask you guys, as an Eagles fan, if you wanted to see one of these teams, obviously Minnesota 14-3 versus a team in the LA Rams who won a bad division this year, who would you rather, like if you got to see one of them in the postseason, if you had to run into one of them in the postseason, would you rather have the Rams coming here or would you rather have the Vikings coming here? And obviously they're two very different stories, right? But in a weird way, like I think it should kind of tell you which way to lean for the game. Like, I feel like I'd rather play the Vikings. Would I prefer Stafford and McVay and Kupp and Nacua coming to town? Or would I prefer Darnold with a good defense coming to town? That's what I'm saying. You are correct. I mean, at the end, I'm just throwing out conversation until we get Scotty back in. Honestly, might just wrap it up here. But yeah, it doesn't matter. And we're going to talk about that in a couple minutes once we hop over to the pregame stream. Today doesn't matter for me. The Packers are running into a buzz saw today. So things are going to get interesting, man. I'm all in against anyone. I agree. We got one Vikings. We got one Rams. You guys can't agree on anything in the comments, can you? Give Scotty like 1 or 2 more minutes to hop back in here, and then I'll wrap it up. I'll actually text him real quick. Yeah, see if he answers that, and then I'll let you guys know. But if you guys are new to the channel, if you're watching right now on Twitter, make sure do us a favor. Obviously, follow us on Twitter, but check out the YouTube channels. Whether it's this one, the Turf Talk channel that we're on right now, whether it is the Philadelphia channel that we're going to be on in a few moments, go subscribe. We keep adding a few subscribers every week, but obviously want to continue to pick up the pace there and get us to where we want and need to be. So make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channels. If you guys see all the comments we get to pull up, that's the only spot we can see them. If you're trying to comment through Twitter, we can't see it for some reason. We get a few that like squeak through, but StreamYard doesn't allow us to see most accounts that come in. But Yeah, we're going to hop on over to the pregame show. I'm going to meet Scotty over in that studio. So Martian, D-Rab, Will, Honor, whoever's in here right now, make sure to just go over to that channel in about 5 minutes and we'll be set to go. It's Birds time. We skipped over the game, obviously, for good reason. We got a lot to talk about. We talked about it with you guys a lot this week already, but it's time to actually dive into it. So come bring your predictions, your hot takes, your keys to victory, whatever you got, bets, anything today. Subscribe, follow for myself, for Scotty, for DSM. See you guys in a few minutes.